Stephen Lakey here, and I'm here with my good friend once again, Rakesh Bandapelli. Rakesh, how are you today?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yes.
What are we here today for, man?
We are here today with the most recent read, The Logistics Legends, and we do have a legend here with us right now.
Yeah, it's a good book, isn't it?
It is, it is. Very excited to talk more about it.
And we have here none other than Kat Atana, who is author of Chapter 5, and the name of the chapter is, Kat?
Well, it's Becoming Me from...
You've got your mic.
I got my mic. From Roots to Wings.
Amazing. And that's a great title, and having read it, a perfect title to your chapter.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about, for those who haven't read, a little bit, what can we expect in that chapter? What's your story?
So it's probably, kind of a mini biography. So it tells a little bit about, I guess, my life. Yeah. And there has been a lot of people who came to me, once I talked to them a little bit about, like, how was it growing up in the GDR? And, tell me more. And, one day you should write a book. So I guess when I was, approached by Signature Global Network, if I like to contribute to a chapter to the Logistics Legends, I felt very honored, but I also felt compelled to, maybe it was time to share that story.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about like some lessons that you have learned from growing up in like East Germany. I mean, I know for me, born in Australia, Eastern Germany was a big mystery when I was a child. There was East Germany that we associated with Russia and the Communist Party. The Western Germany we associated with the US and capitalist society. What was it like, and what lessons did you learn? It must have been so different to what we're brought up with.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess some of the differences is, so it was quite poor, but we weren't really lacking the essentials. So we had, food and clothing and shelter and these sorts of things. Everyone had a job, and there was really good education, really good medical system as well. And one thing that I learned, and I remember with my parents, it is all the time, especially my mum, who's an engineer or became an engineer throughout my childhood. If they didn't have something, they would make it. They would find a way. They would invent it. They would make it out of other pieces. If a radio was broken, well, my grandpa actually used to collect all these parts. He built my first bicycle. So literally out of stuff he found at the tip. Wow. So I guess for the life lesson for me was, you can't always have every tool, so you just make the best out of what you got.
And amazingly, we should really be going back to that lifestyle, right? With sustainability, circular economy. Things just don't get fixed anymore, do they?
That's absolutely right. And we couldn't just go and buy another car or buy another washing machine. Like usually the normal waiting time for a car was 16 years. So if something was broken, you really had to fix it.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about waste, removing waste in supply chain, and I'm sure we talk a lot about that. I think we've removed a lot of waste and we created some other waste, which we're all trying to recover and trying to figure out how do we fix the waste. So, great book. Obviously, I read the book as well, and I put a post on LinkedIn as well. I know there's a great saying: adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You learn a lot out of it. So I know there was some topic you covered about the car accident and how it shaped how you looked forward in life. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I've been very fortunate and, probably grow up a little bit with that belief it's always going to be okay. And I actually remember the day we were on the freeway driving to my grandparents, and we didn't have screw cap bottles, and only the one that you had to, or my dad actually used to open them with 2 bottles, and he was driving. Now my parents had done this 100 times. My mum was holding the steering wheel while he was opening the bottles. What he didn't realize, because he couldn't really look over, she was asleep, but she still reacted, and she basically grabbed the steering wheel and then pulled it, and the car, the type of car it was, my dad just couldn't regain control. And I was sitting between the 2 seats looking out the front. There was no seat belt, and I remember just having this mantra in my head: it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. Now sure enough, I lost consciousness. So I remember the car shaking, and then I woke up like 200 meters from the car. The only thing is I have a little wave here, which is the only scratch I had from the car accident. That's it. So I guess it gave me probably a different appreciation of, of life in a way, because, well, it's not always going to be okay. Fortunately, in this situation, it is. But I guess it probably taught me to have a more deeper and more meaningful life, and to maybe it was the route for me to seek adventure, because one of my drivers in life, I seek adventure. And then, after that, I've traveled to so many places and I tried to do so many things. So it could have been the beginning of that.
So it was the realization that life could end at any moment, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Make the most of it.
Make the most of it, exactly.
Amazing. So you described yourself as a very inquisitive child. So has that helped you or maybe hindered you in your supply chain journey?
It's really the key. So I guess when I started in supply chain, initially I was more in the technical part, like a project manager and then business process manager in Asia. And when I came to Australia, I started in sales. And well, I guess my mum, again being an engineer, my dad actually a philosopher, so they're both asking questions, very different questions, but
I'd love to chat to your dad.
Long hours, glass of wine, absolutely. So I guess it's been really helpful. I like to learn about people. I always like to ask people. But then once I started in that sales profession, it's the key. So to me, a salesperson is actually not someone to talk all day. It's someone to ask questions, to get to the root cause, to understand the why, and it's almost like a consultant to see, okay, how can I help you? If I can figure out how I can help you, then I can sell you something. So I guess that's been a really helpful trait, maybe. But certainly, I'm sure as a child, I've annoyed a lot of people with my questions.
It's a great quality, I think, as a child to be inquisitive, because, like you say, being inquisitive in life is one of the keys. And I think that, when you ask the right questions, particularly in sales, it is about asking the right questions, and then you'll get the revealing answers.
That's right.
And I know you touched on a little bit about networking and getting the connections and through your journey in the sales. And you touched that topic in your book as well, Unlocking the Power of Networking. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I know how important it is, maybe for the audience as well. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, so I guess I met my husband in Hong Kong, and at some stage I sort of had this plan in life. So I was going to invest all my effort and focus into education, and then into getting a good job. And then I kind of decided by my mid-20s, I want to change direction. I really want to have a family. And, it was sort of around the time that I met my husband as well. Every relationship I had before failed, usually because it ended up being long distance, since traveling was important to me. And I thought, all right, well, I'm going to have to give this a go. So 2008, global financial crisis, I quit my, pretty good job I had in Hong Kong at the time, and literally booked the flight and moved to Australia with a couple of suitcases. I've then, interviewed, and I had no idea. I just got a work and travel visa. I was still young enough. I've cut a lot of, stuff out of my CV and basically made it look like a backpacker. So I got like this temporary job in a call center basically within 2 days. So that was quite easy. But I did want to go back to a professional career I had worked quite hard for. And it was just not the right time. And also, that backpacker visa was going to run out after 12 months. So I needed to find a company to sponsor me as well. And I was very proud up to this point to not needing any help. I didn't take any money from my parents when I was at uni. I, financed all my, travels. I've, worked for what I got. It was sort of this innate, I was really proud of myself and wanted to do it on my own. Now, this one wasn't going to happen, at least not easily on my own. And when I left Hong Kong, everyone kind of says, when I told them the story, they sort of loved the story, bit of a love story. They said, if you need any help, and I know someone there. And even Hellman offered me, listen, we're kind of, letting people go, but we can find a job for you if you need to. So I really didn't want to do that. Then I basically tapped into my network, and my Aikido instructor from Hong Kong, who had thrown me around the gym quite a lot. He also was a senior manager at Kuehne + Nagel, and that got me my first job. So at that point I was like, okay, maybe networking isn't so bad. And it's been really the beginning of a great journey in Australia.
So would you say that it's the key to a career is who you know and just being like courageous and going up to people and talking to people?
Well, I guess that's probably a big component, and something I realized with time. I've always had sort of maybe a naive confidence. Like I just, didn't really see a problem with approaching whoever, and I didn't really think about hierarchy or who they are, or so that took me quite far. But then I was also very proud of what I've achieved on my own, and didn't really appreciate the power of networking. Obviously that moment changed it, and ever since I started to embrace networking, and it makes such a difference. And what I also realized, it's an opportunity for me to give back, because once I'm in a network, there's also actually people you can help. And I strongly believe that people like to help. If I was to ask you if you can help me send my CV to someone I know really I want no skin off my game. I'm actually helping maybe two people. I might help the person that hires you, and I help you for connecting you. So there is a lot of benefit, and then once you're in that network, you can also build up your confidence, because I realized that seems to be a challenge from a lot of people. And maybe, I don't like to be too gender focused, but especially, young females seem to have that lack of confidence. And if you're in a network and maybe you have an opportunity to speak at a small event in front of a group of people that then it's a lot easier once you've done it a couple times to go to the next level and to really build that confidence as well.
I liked what you said there about helping people, because I've over the years and had attended like hundreds of networking events, and we do a lot through SCLAA, of course.
Yeah.
We see a lot of contacts made and a lot of big opportunities open up. Whether you're a new grad and you've got your first position, or you get that dream job, or that promotion by talking to people, and we've seen that over and over again. So I know it works. A key that I've found out that works for me is when I'm in a networking event, is that I look for ways to help the other person. So rather than thinking, oh, that person could help me, that person could help me, I just go up to somebody, and my whole aim is to work out how I could help them. Look, and that may be something to do with something that I sell them, but more often than not, it's introducing them to someone, or there's some advice they need. And I ask the right questions to find out what that is, and so that's my aim, and I find that works. That works brilliantly,
Yeah.
And the universe looks after you. You don't do it as a transaction, but you end up getting people helping you along your journey as well.
Exactly. It's all karma, and it all comes back to you. So there's so many examples, and I still feel like that I've been really fortunate. When I first came here, and then the company I started to work for sponsored my visa, and then I got permanent residency within 2 years. It was just sent for as an email. I'm like, okay, this was easy. And now I look at people, trying to go through this journey. But it's really the first job that sets you up, because there's so many university graduates, and some of them are absolutely brilliant minds. They're amazing. And I know it now from an employer point of view as well. It's sometimes hard to give someone a go if you don't really know what their experience is, and sometimes they don't have that job experience. But if you can get them the first job, it's usually a snowball effect, and they can then, become a, really confident person and grow in their career, and that's really rewarding in its own right. But then, sometimes it also works out as karma and makes full circle.
100%. Yeah, I can totally relate to the whole immigration journey. I had a lot of churns, a lot of change in profile in my professional life, and then slowly I understood. Having a master's degree, it's all about what you know, and then the equally important thing is who you know.
Yeah.
And it sort of goes really well together. But one thing actually I realized over time now is speaking to a lot of people is most supply chain operation staff are so much into the work, and we're so busy, right? It's not very natural for them to go out and then talk to people. Like you're not in sales, you're not in marketing, you're in operations. That's the biggest portion of supply chain. And then never think about themselves besides the work every day. And then suddenly they realize, I don't know, let's just say in 4 years' time, they realize maybe they're unhappy with the job or whatever. and then they look at the CV. Oh my God, maybe I need to start working on my CV. But I always tell them, along those 4 years, don't try to invest all your time into a CV. Suddenly you decide to quit the job. Over that 4 years, take some time out for yourself and start networking with people. Just building a CV is not going to help you when you realize, oh my God, this place is not good for me. But I also equally understand the challenge. You're in operations, you're full there every day, like you're trying to get the job done, and it's a bit of a balance. Yeah, you got to really figure out. And then so tell me a little bit more about your supply chain life before 2008, because obviously it's a whole different experience, including working parts of Germany and then different parts of Asia. And then a whole different landscape here. What is the reflection on these two worlds?
It's quite interesting. So I guess supply chain life, I did work in my mum's road construction company while I was obviously, at high school and school holidays and things like this. It's more, there is a logistics part to that, and I used to check all the invoices and check the mess and was this, all right. That was one of the exciting jobs I got to do, but I also helped with some tenders and things like that, and there's always obviously the transport component. So I had a little bit of early exposure, certainly set on concrete trucks and, Then I went to uni, and in a place called Osnabrück, which is the head office of Hellmann Worldwide Logistics, the largest privately owned international freight forwarder. And their global HR manager, an amazing visionary at the time, he worked together with a student organization called ISEC. And I was also in ISEC, which is another, I can probably write another book about that. Anyway, that's how I got to know him, and he literally poached me. Like he's offered me a job as a project manager and said, whatever flexible hours, you can work from home. VPN at the time was super modern and flexible, just so he could get me sort of into the company. And he hooked me up with a mentor who, our team reported directly to the owner, Klaus Hellmann at the time, or one of the owners. So it was fantastic exposure. And then when I wanted to go to Spanish-speaking countries, he sent me to Spain, and I wanted to go to Asia, he sent me to Hong Kong. So it was a real good story. But it also gave me an overview. So I wrote my bachelor thesis on job rotation, and I got to go to all the different departments of Hellmann. So I learned about the road freight, about warehousing, about international freight, really early on. And then obviously in Hong Kong was probably another journey, because I was involved in so many projects. So Hellmann has a lot of verticals, one of them being textile, and we were looking at setting up quality control. So we worked with a company called TÜV, which is a German quality control, and then worked with suppliers, and I got to travel and see factories and all sorts of amazing things at a really young age. So I had a lot of exposure to all areas of supply chain before I then obviously came to Australia and ended up more kind of selling it than setting up the processes around it.
So a question, so reading your chapter, it seemed like your mum was in the construction industry, and that would have been a hard industry for a woman to be in, I think. She really broke into that industry as a woman. So do you think that was a bit of a role model or had an influence on you as here you are, right into supply chain, very male-dominated industry still. How did that influence you?
Absolutely. Well, don't ever tell an 18-year-old that you're going to be like your mum. But the older I get, the more I'm appreciative of actually a lot of traits that I have from her. And I guess the older and wiser I grow, the more appreciation I actually have for her journey as well, which it was quite complicated after the inner GDR time. A lot of businesses went under, and I guess in short, my grandpa lost his job, but on his way out, he kind of managed to get my mum into an general manager role, which she literally she finished her degree in civil engineering, and she was just about to study information technology because she was so bored working for government and shifting resources around that didn't really exist. So she then had the opportunity to apply herself, but she didn't know how to deal with people, how to operate, how to run anything. And she made up with it by literally putting in the hours. So for, I would say at least 5 years, she would have worked 20 hours, 5 days a week. And on the weekend, she was, sleeping. And I guess with her
amazing
energy,
work ethic there.
yes. Wow. So I think with her energy and commitment, anyone who doubted her, like she didn't even have time to worry about what other people were thinking about.
You're just so tired.
she just made sure she got the job done, and she got contract after contract and executed, and eventually she brought in a business partner, and then her hours started, and she learned her job, and then her hours started to become more manageable. But it was certainly a really hard time for her. Yeah.
So influenced you in a very, very amazing way.
It deterred me from having my own business. But I think the work ethics, I've certainly learned a lot from her. And
walking into a male-dominated industry?
Well, I've never knew to be afraid. I never knew this was a thing.
It's the best way to be. That's that naivety you were talking about, right?
Exactly right.
Get in there. That's amazing. So with all the breakup in Eastern Germany, everything that happened, the closure of businesses, how did that influence you in how you view work now?
Yeah.
Like accountability and productivity, and how has that affected you? Like you've seen that other world.
Yeah, absolutely. So the unemployment rate was incredibly high, like the official unemployment rate after everything collapsed. So basically the productivity wasn't there, so businesses just collapsed. And also the transition, in my personal view, could have been managed better, but it's always easy to say in hindsight. So unemployment rate 25-30%, and this was after everyone who was 58 and above went into retirement. Everyone who they could employ for government got employed by government. Those people were included from the 30% unemployment rate. So it was really high. And there was certainly a drive, and okay, what are you going to do as a job where you can get a job? And I guess it probably instilled that work ethic in me, to always try the hardest, and always try to improve, and find a better way, and not let status quo define the situation, because I did see a lot of lives fall apart. And there were whole districts in a town that I grew up with, obviously quite significant crime rates as well, where both people were at home. I mean, one thing, Germany is quite a social state, not socialist, but social. Yep. So no one was starving, even if they weren't working. But if you're at home all day, you just lose that drive and passion, and it's really easy to kind of give up on the adventures in life. And I've seen too many people do that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I always wanted to get out and explore other things, and see what else is there in the world, and not necessarily stay where I am. However, I'm very grateful for a lot of friends and colleagues from school. 95% of them actually stayed, and they rebuilt the country. So I'm very grateful for them.
Thank you, Kat.
Let's talk some back-end life stuff, which is real. I know you're a mother of 3 kids, and married life, and obviously there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make, and the family as well, to be professionally where you are today, but also sort of managing your personal life. And obviously sometimes people say they see a part of real life in social media and they think that's everything. Somehow they're lucky, their life is always like that. But reality is everyone goes through, like I've got 2 kids, young kids, and then what I do now, there's a lot of discussions I have with my partner, there's a lot of support from her. So that's real. The challenges are real, kids fall sick, and we've got to manage through a lot of things. So what's your personal life that led into your professional success? What is that? Yeah.
Of course. Coming to Australia was a real eye-opener. Because one thing that East Germany did really well, it was education, childcare, even the school system. It was very well organized. So I was in childcare basically from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was probably there the longest.
First knocked off, last
But
picked up.
because my dad still was at uni in one town and my mum kind of, was in another town, and they got an apartment together somewhere else, so they had to take train and public transport. And so, by the time they navigated all that, I was there quite long. But it didn't really bother me. I was with other kids, I had fun, I learned things, it was fine. And here, when I looked into, okay, all right, so childcare, I actually learned this in America already. It's like, oh, my child goes twice a week to childcare. I'm like, what? And what about the other?
Doesn't make sense.
I realized there's actually cost associated. Like, we got free lunch, pretty much. Paid a 50 cents a day, but it was pretty much, free meals at school and all these sorts of things. While all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we can only afford to send them. And then I looked at prices here. So I've spent a horrendous amount of money in childcare, nannies, au pair, all the support to enable me to raise my children the way I want, but to also do what I like to do for my career. And I've certainly parked myself in a job for 10 years at one company, which was really good, but probably halfway through I could have done other things, and I ended up being a little bit bored at the end when I left, because I've stayed there for so long. But they've been very supportive. I had flexible hours. I was able to go to the 100,000 events at the school and at childcare and the kinder, organize every day. And I was able to balance it. And once my kids were all in school, it was also easier for my husband, I guess, to look after them, since they can occupy themselves and do two different things. I've basically changed career a little bit and decided to step a bit harder on the pedal. So I guess in short, you can have it all, just maybe not at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I know from reading your chapter that you were given a lot of independence as a child. So has that affected how you bring up your children?
It's so hard. I loved having this independence. So there was a time when my dad was sort of between jobs and he was home, and that was so annoying. I was able to navigate public transport really early on, and I would just bike ride, to the next town to, catch up with friends. And I think everyone in East Germany had a higher level of independence. I think mine might have gone a little bit further, with my parents being quite young and very focused on what they were doing. So I feel like it really made me who I am, because I didn't have someone else to ask, okay, what am I going to do in this situation? How am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to fix this? So as a result, I've always had to problem solve myself and take responsibility and ownership for the challenges in my life, and I couldn't blame other people. Well, just there was no one else to blame if I didn't do something right. So I felt that was really powerful and really a gift from my parents in hindsight. And I'm trying to find a way to give this to my children, but it's hard. There's all these cars on the road these days. We barely had any cars, so I could ride my bike everywhere, not a problem. Then there's people on the road with. So in my younger years in the East German time, there could have been a crime rate. No one really knew about it. There wasn't, so as far as we're concerned, there was no crime. And we've never experienced any either. So we didn't really have to worry about it. Now we have a very different situation. So I guess what I'm trying to do is balance giving my children independence, making them accountable, while also trying to protect them. And some of the things that I'm doing, they have lots of jobs at home they have to do before they can, play computer. I take them to school in the morning, because I know this is when everyone is stressed on the road, and people might go crazy and might overlook a little child crossing the road. And there's not crossings all the way to school. But then on the way back, it's afternoon. Hopefully they're all a little bit more relaxed and chilled. And they walk home, which is just over 2 kilometers together. And they know how to open the door and let themselves in. And I'm just trying to give them tasks where they can, go a little bit further, explore. And if they make a mistake or do something wrong, it's not a big deal, that's learning. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do.
Do you think generally the balance is right now with children, or do they not have enough responsibility and independence? Are they being parented too much?
It's a tough question. I think my children are certainly too spoiled, so it's too easy, and there's all these things that they can get and all these gadgets. So I certainly feel that's a problem. If I look at the generation that's sort of just coming out of school, there's some really, really smart, amazing young people, but there's also some that really struggle being confronted with feedback or with a slightly challenging situation, or they're asked to get out of their comfort zone, and they just haven't learned how to do that. I've had some,
like a lack of resilience.
Yeah, it's lack of resilience, absolutely. So I've had some, nannies looking after the kids with, they were perfectly fine with the kids at home, but I think if I would have exposed them to a challenge, I don't know how they would have actually handled the situation. And so I'm not sure if we are getting the balance right. And I think if we can provide safety, then I think parents might lose some of that anxiety and let the children do more things. But while safety isn't as assured, I think it's hard to let go. Yeah.
Particularly primary school age.
Yeah.
I'm yet to experience all that journey. My kids are 2 and 5, so I got in the very early stage of parenting. So only last question from me is around, is there anything that, especially when you moved here since 2008 till now, is there any particular career highlight that is like, wow, this is an amazing thing that sort of you always reflect back on, and that makes you obviously feel proud, and maybe you have opportunities you'd like to repeat that success? Is there anything in particular you think of? Or?
Oh, there's probably quite a few. I really enjoyed my career so far, I have to say. So I would say one call out might be COVID. So during COVID, I was at home with my 3 children. We had an au pair. Was very lucky to change from German to Canadian English speaking. So the homeschooling was a lot easier. So I certainly had some support, obviously hubby at home as well. And we set up a desk in literally every room. I was able to navigate through that time by just learning fairly quickly how PPE works, what are the commodities, by not ignoring companies because just they made sports tricots and no one is playing sports outside doesn't mean that they're no longer, trading. Actually, they, changed the suppliers and imported gowns, and all of a sudden we had all these air freight shipments and charters, and to navigate those with a tier 1 company between all the operational, the timing, which often no time literally had to be done yesterday, SOPs, finances, prepaying, like it was pretty full on to organize charters within that business, even once the customer said yes, to then get it across the line. And, there's also lots of relationships that I had, and it was probably an advantage because it was easier to get business from people that knew me already, because obviously you couldn't meet new people. So in short, I ended up on globally #1 of all sales and account managers at the company I worked for at the time. And I thought that was quite an achievement. I also thought that was sort of time for me to move on.
Finish on the top.
There's nowhere else to go.
Crazy time in supply chain. Yeah. So one very last question. So if there was 1 or 2 sentences that you could give our audience about your lesson, from your journey from moving from East Germany to Australia, what would that be?
So resilience, never give up. I think that's a really...
I see that in you. Yeah.
That's a really key one. And if one way doesn't work, try another one. And if there is no table, build a table. Just don't give up. Keep trying. If you have a goal, keep trying. So I think that's a really important lesson. I guess the second one is, not everything is overall meaningful and important. Like, you don't need to have a script in life. Like, it really, it's about what you want, and sometimes it's important to be flexible.
Yeah.
You know, not giving up doesn't mean that you have to absolutely go down this path. It just means, you know, think about the goal you want to reach, the problem you want to solve, where you want to go, and then find a way to get there. But be flexible, you know, and
Quite
enjoy
often
the
not the
journey.
straight line, right?
Exactly, and enjoy the journey. I think this is, you know, really important. And I guess specifically from East Germany to the rest, well, there's a lot of things that you can do with the tools you have. You don't always need to have the exact tools. There's a lot of things you can do. My husband is still laughing at me if I pick up a rock instead of a hammer, but lots of things you can do with what is at your disposal. So look at that first, and try to make the best with what you got.
It's amazing. Great talking to you, Kat.
Thanks
you
so
much.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
so
having
much.
me.
What's the name of the book again, Mr. Van der Pelly?
The Logistics
The
Legend.
Logistics Legend.
Yeah, I actually read the other chapters too, so I highly recommend everyone grab a book or Kindle, whatever is easy for you guys, and have a read. It doesn't have to be all unicorn stories. There are some amazing stories in here. Everyone has their own journey, and it's good to, especially if you're in supply chain, it's a great read, but also it gives you some inspiration as well in your professional life. So yeah.
Thank you, man. Until next time.
All right, that's it.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.